what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
Jim, Andy of Raging Speedhorn, welcome to The Razor's Edge. Before we talk about Raging Speedhorn and the new album, I want to jump back in time. How did you both first get into heavy music?
God, how indeed. Scorpions, Worldwide Live. There you go. Job done. That's it. That cassette, I bought it, listened to it, absorbed it, got my tennis racket out, jumped around loads in front of the mirror, did the splits, it hurt. Yeah, that's it. Worldwide Live, Scorpions.
Excellent. And here's Dan.
One song for me, Iron Maiden, Phantom of the Opera.
Dan, I asked the others, so I'll ask you. What first got you into heavy music?
Got me into heavy music or music?
Either.
Being an 80s child, my sister was very new romantic. She worked at the top hairdressers in York, so I ended up being the model for flat top haircuts and rat's tails and bleached ends. But yeah, I guess listening to Wham and Erasure and stuff like that got me into music. And then I think my first CD player I got when I was a kid, I got Bros and Kylie Minogue album. But I think what got me into guitar music was Queen live at Wembley, 1986. My mum and my sister taped it on when it was on the tube, and I remember watching it. And Tie Your Mother Down came on. That was it. Boom. And I got a guitar, joined a band.
Yeah.
When I was 11. And and that was it. And then I think someone gave me a Master of Puppets CD saying, "Oh, you're into rock, aren't you?" Master of Puppets cassette.
Yeah.
And I listened to that. And it stemmed from there, I guess.
Excellent. So the three of you have all joined Raging Speedhorn at different points. And you've all been in different bands, and I've seen you all in your original bands as well. So, how did you make your way to the beast that is Speedhorn?
Jim?
Me?
I was minding my own business, and I said, "No, getting press game."
I don't know. I mean, I just went out for a pint, and I just went out for a pint, and I'm still here somehow. No, I mean, I'd known the boys for years, pretty much since the beginning of the band, and obviously Charger, we toured a lot with Speedhorn, and I hung out with them a lot, with Gaz, the original guitar player, and Gordon and Frank. And essentially, there was always sort of talk, certainly when Tony went, before Jay joined, of possibly me standing in or playing for them, and then it didn't happen. And over the years, it was talked about, never happened, and then in 2013, actually, I got a call from Gordon saying that him and Frank and John had talked about getting the band back together and would I play guitar. And I said yes for a few gigs, and I've not been able to get away since. I've tried.
Do you want to go?
I've tried many different things. I've even tried the ton weight on the head, but that didn't work.
I'm the same as Jim, basically, where I've known the guys pretty much from the start. Obviously, me and my other band, basically, we sort of crossed paths on many a festival gig and all that sort of thing. So, obviously, struck up a friendship with the guys back in the day. And obviously, I've always kept in contact with Gordon, always any excuse to hang out with him back at whenever we're crossing paths and such. Yeah. And then, obviously, it's funny they lost. They were needing a guitar player, basically. So I was like, I just finished doing a band playing guitar, and I was like, so because you're my mate, I'll help you out playing guitar. And it was just like, yeah, that'd be amazing, blah blah blah. And then about a week later, I saw that it was all sorted. I was like, oh, brilliant, they're sorted. And then I get a text one day off Gordon going, have you still got all your bass stuff? I was like, why? And then the next thing I know, basically, it's 5+ years now I've been playing with the guys. It's mental. So,
do you know, it's interesting hearing that story off Andy, because I knew the guys from my original band, before RSJ. We toured on one of their first tours together, and we were just like, "What's this? My word!" And we just stayed in touch. So I've known them since '99, 2000 era as well. But I think I've been with them about 8 years, with in many different guises because I stood in for Frank first, and then John, and then I got a funny call, which is why I'm saying that's weird, Andy, because I've never told you this. I got a funny call saying, "Have you still got all your bass stuff?"
Did they?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
from Gordon. So I dusted it all off. I started learning all the stuff. And then, because I used to play bass originally, started learning it all. And then next thing I see Andy's joined the band. I was like, oh, right, okay. And then I got a call saying John's left. Do you want,
Let's just say it all worked out for the best, as is.
do you want to do it full time? So, yeah. So basically, that's how I ended up.
And I think it would look a completely different band if you were all on those in those original different roles. It would be not the same as it is now. So
No.
Andy's the best fingerer there is, so he's more suited to bass.
So you're about to release album number 7, Nightwolf, and I've had it on repeat for weeks now, and I love it. So how happy are you with the album?
Rather.
Super happy. Super happy. Super duper happy. Super megatastically happy. No, I mean, it's a Speedhorn album, and it sounds like a Speedhorn album. And as always, whatever we write, it ends up sounding like Speedhorn. I think we've tried a lot more different things. I think the writing of it just worked better in the sense that it was more free, and it was more, just go wherever. However, there wasn't this sort of. I mean, we never have a set directions to go in when we write anyway. It's all jams and stuff. But it just felt to me more fresh when we got in the studio, and there was more room to push and try things and experiment a little more. And yeah, love it. Wicked how it's turned out. Russ has done an incredible job as always.
Yeah.
7th member as he is. Yeah. So I'll let someone else talk now. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed with it. For me, it was the first one I've been involved on the full writing process.
Yeah.
Because obviously I had to kill when they asked me to join. They said, we've done the album. You just need to write your parts. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll send you a copy. You're in the studio next week. All right, okay. So I had to write the whole lot, but I wasn't involved in the rest of it. So for me, it was nice to be involved in the full thing. And yeah, I'm really chuffed with how it's turned out. Really pleased.
Yeah, I think for listen to loads, and it's the classic thing where you're listening, and when you first start listening to an album, you've got a favorite track, and as time progresses, you suddenly have another track that's like you end up listening to constantly, and it's like I was saying in another interview with Dan, is basically like a problem with like stuff like Spotify and all that, like is people would tend to cherry pick.
Yeah.
And so they don't get the full album experience, which is another reason why I'm absolutely loving the fact that vinyl's made such a comeback, because with vinyl you tend to put it on and then just let it play and just go for it. Just, listen to the whole record. And some of some of my favorite songs ever on albums are like the album track. They're not a single, they're not anything. They're just like one that you listen to and go, bloody hell, that song's amazing. That should have been a single, but it isn't. But you wouldn't, if you were cherry picking like on Spotify, you probably would never even thought of hearing that song. So
I think as well,
all the songs stand up. I think like definitely. So like it's nice. It's a good thing to sit there and you can just listen to the whole album and it's all one coherent piece. So
absolutely.
I think as well because obviously Lost Ritual was a lot of pressure because we were writing a new album after a hiatus. So there was quite a lot of pressure on that in a way. With Hard to Kill, there was quite a lot of pressure in the sense that we were going through changes and whatnot, and COVID obviously as well.
Yeah.
And so this, to me, feels like, even though we've got a new guitarist on this, David, the wonderful David, it felt to me more cohesive as a group and more together as a group than it ever has before, and more free of pressure in terms of having to write anything, or it's just like a very free process.
Yeah, and is that freedom anything to do with now being on Spine Farm? You've got a nice record deal. Have they given you that freedom to take more time writing an album and doing stuff?
Well, I mean, the album was kind of, it was written and recorded before. Was it before Spine Farm had actually happened?
Yeah.
So that didn't really come into the process in terms of writing and recording it. I mean, it is nice. Yes, it's nice to be on a label. It's nice to have budgets for things and whatnot. And it's nice to do something different, because we've been doing it all ourselves for the last two, and the pressure of that is insane. So it's nice to have some of the pressure off, shall we say?
What he said.
Dan, you mentioned it's the first album you've been able to put your mark on, and Daft's come in as well. And I think that opening epic riff from Blood Red Sky at the start of the album, that's Daft's, isn't it? I think so. Well, according to press release, it is. So
the whole song is.
Yeah. And that's a proper epic Speedhorn song, and it's amazing that he's come in and slotted in so well. So how have you felt on the album, Dan? But also how is Daft slotted into the whole dynamic?
I think for me it was like I say, Frank had wrote all his parts for Hard to Kill. So basically there was loads of blank parts on the album for me to fill in. So I got my own way of writing. Sorry, the dog's just opened the door and coming. I don't know. I've got my own way of writing, and I had to kind of fit in with Frank's on that. And then it was all kind of like, for me, it was a little bit confusing as to how it would work with two vocalists, because I've always been writing by myself.
Yep.
And I'm quite. I didn't ever let my band before see my lyrics or anything, so to open up and share was quite daunting for me, really. I never really shared the lyrics with anyone. So I think with Frank, I had to get used to his way of working. It's a very Frank way of working, last minute, sort of spur of the moment, energy, keep it up, do it on the spot freestyle. And it turned out really great. I think I just give him a load of lyrics, and he went through them and started chopping and changing and putting them into his way he's got the structure in his head, and then we both fire stuff back at each other, and we did it all pretty much on the spot. And it'd be like, oh, I don't know what wants to be there, and I'd be like, say this, and then he'd be like, okay, and he'd have a go, and then he'd do the same with me. And so it was really good, and it was totally different for me. I think with Dav, he maybe the guitarist or Axemen want to talk about that, but he for me, he fit in really well. He had the swagger, the Speedhorn swagger.
Thing with Dav, like Dav's so good. The vocal is the one thing with obviously the way Dan's obviously been able to have a lot more free reign, like on this record, and because they tend to do it quite off the cuff and all vocally and all that sort of stuff, you've got that spontaneity, and I think that definitely comes through in the album. It's got that sort of sparkle in the vocals, because you're not overthinking stuff. And I think that's the thing about Speedhorn, is you try not to overthink the stuff. You just think, does this sound good? Do I keep doing it? And I think one of the things that's been great is getting Dapper on board, because he seems to be very much on the same wavelength as us when it comes to that idea. He'll just get in there and he'll work on stuff, and it's like I think he slotted in beautifully, basically, and he certainly cut his teeth perfectly with us when they're going on the road, and it's just been great. It's been solid. He's just a really solid player, dependable player. You know what I mean? The sort of thing.
Yeah.
You want because we want to be as good as we can as a band and live and stuff like that. And you want to know that everyone's kind of pulling their weight, and he definitely does. So, and it's been great to have him on board. So,
yeah,
I think he's
play off each other so really nicely. So,
I think he's awful myself. I think he's the worst guitarist we've ever had. But yeah, you've got to put up with it. No, I'm joking. No, I honestly and truthfully, I'm so proud of that boy.
Yeah.
Because he was dropped in the studio essentially because we work in a certain way, and that way is very quick. It's take. It's it's not wrong. Stop. And Russ has already pressed record, and you're into a take. There's no talk. It's dual eyes, and he just, after a few struggles initially getting into it, which you're bound to have, learning that way of recording, he got it. He got on board. He nailed it. Dead proud of him. Super proud of him. And he was nervous. And to fight through nerves in a studio environment where you can hear everything is like a really tough thing to do. And he did it. So super proud of him. Love him to bits. He fits in perfect. He's got that swing, that Nola swing, that groove.
Yeah.
And he looks cool as well. He's a handsome bastard, isn't he? I mean, Christ, if I was that way inclined, oof.
He's definitely brought the handsome percentage in this band, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So a couple of weeks ago, you released that video for Every Night's All Right for Fighting, and it's brilliant. It really is brilliant. So, where did the idea come for everything that's involved in that video?
Dan can answer that.
Funnily enough, every video I have out to do with, everybody says that video. From the old band days and everything. But yeah, I think that video for me was one that was meant to, we spoke about in RSJ, and we came up with, and like me and Guff, and it never happened. And then I spoke to Gordon about it when I first joined, and Gordon was like, "Oh, we've got to do that." And I'm like, "Well, we can do it. You know what I mean? It's basically a lot of my ideas, so we can do it." And it was going to be on Hard to Kill, I think, originally, but we never got round to it. Stuff never happened.
Yep.
And then when Every Night's Right for Fighting came up, we had to do a video. Boom. It was just like, that seems to work. But it was just something I always wanted to do. I love wrestling.
Yep.
And like the 80s, golden era, 90s, early 90s. And I went to WrestleMania 6 in Toronto Skydome in Canada and stuff. And it was just electric. And I just thought, it'd be great to do that, but us being the fit wrestlers, muscle men we are, you know what I mean? With lots of painful things and bums on faces and pants sniffing and tripping up and slapstick. I think it's as more than body slams and.
I thought Frank made a great Hulk Hogan in that. So yeah,
you know what? I'm really chuffed with Frank, because Frank is, not one that gets into stuff at times when it comes to stuff like that. He doesn't like playing up to a camera, I guess, and he just was well on board with the idea. And looking back at the video, he did an absolutely amazing job. He just makes me crack up all the way through it, and he was great on the night and everything. It was so funny. I think he's gone out in Corby in his t-shirt and Frankomania one.
That's amazing.
So yeah, the album's out in a couple of weeks now. So, do you pay attention as reviews start coming through? Do you care what press think about your album?
I like reading reviews, but like at the same time, I'm more like, I love the record, so it's just one person's opinion of your record. So,
yeah, I read
if
them
everybody
all.
thinks it, then this might be on something. But
I'd like to thank you lot for being the first review.
Oh, as soon as it landed, that's going out straight away. I'm listening to this and it's going out.
Yeah, it was a great review. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, I read them all. I find it interesting what people think of him. I don't take it personally. I never do. I think everybody's got different tastes, different styles, so it doesn't bother me if people don't really like stuff. But I definitely like to read what people put. Sometimes I think of sending Anthrax in post, but I'm not the band. But but not often. It's everybody's got their own opinion. We'd be boring, wouldn't we, if we all the same? So, but I love reading what people put. I read them all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see what other people think, what other people's interpretations of the songs are.
I'm not that big on reviews, to be honest. I like the shit ones, but we haven't had any shit ones. So I like the ones where someone really hates something and goes viscerally mad about it. I love them.
Yeah.
I think they're wicked. But no, I mean, generally, it is nice to know what other people think.
Yeah.
Certainly, people like you, I respect greatly. It's nice to know what you think. And other people that I know and have known through the years, who it's nice to know what they think. And it does give you a warm, fuzzy feeling. Obviously, of course it does. But it's never been a thing I sort of seek personally.
So you're back on the road next month. 15 dates. Can you live with being on the road that long?
What was that? Sorry, all I could hear was Jim crying.
Laughing. Can your livers cope with being on the road for that long in March?
I haven't got one anymore.
He sold it well.
I've just got a demijohn in there.
I don't know. I personally, for me, it's hard because I only drink Jägermeister, and so they get a bottle of Jägermeister on the rider, and it's only me that drinks it. And Frank and Gordon are like, "You got to drink that, because otherwise, it goes to waste. You get one every night." So I have quite a few at home for Christmas. But apart from that, I sometimes have to drink a bottle a night. So it's the only time I drink them. So.
Typical, isn't it? All those years we got Jägermeister for free. We finally have someone in the band who drinks it, and we don't get it free anymore.
There's always great stories coming out about Speedhorn on tour. A couple of years ago, Frank became internet famous after he fell off the stage at Rock City. And Frank tells me. Yeah. Frank has told me it's because he had gin and no one should let him have gin. So have you?
He was swimming in gin before we went on.
It's not Frank had gin. He had a whole bottle of gin.
2 whole bottles.
2? Right. Yeah,
2 whole bottles
of gin. It's not like he had a couple of cheeky ones behind. It was like he went to town. That's why. Yeah. The fact he could walk upright, it was quite impressive in the first place.
Yeah, it was quite funny seeing the internet reactions to that, because obviously you were supporting Skindred at the time, and you've got half of the internet absolutely disgraced by what Frank did, and then half of the internet extremely proud of what Frank did. So, how as his bandmates did you see it as he fell off stage?
Well, I didn't see it. I basically, all we could hear through the monitors is "There's a medical emergency. There's a medical emergency." Stop playing, and then me and Gordon just were like, "No, we're carrying on." And I looked down, and he was laid there, and we just carried on for a bit. And then obviously he got taken off. But I would have done the rest of the set. I mean, it's when there's a man down, you just carry on, don't you?
I just remember thinking, "Oh, he's dead."
Yeah, he fell off the stage.
That was pretty much shit, to be honest.
He's right in front of me when he fell off the stage, and he absolutely face planted. Obviously, people didn't see he face planted the step for the barrier.
Yeah,
and you're seeing the security guard next to him turn white as a ghost at the same time, and literally we're like, "Well, that's it. He's dead, isn't he?" It's like he literally wasn't moving for a second. We're like it's like that was a step.
He couldn't think for 2 days. Yeah, he couldn't see anything for 2 days, was it? His vision went.
When he stood up, when he finally stood up, he had blood pissing out of one of his ears. It was just like, you should probably go to hospital, mate.
But fair dues to him, he came back on, didn't he?
Yeah, and then our sound guy had to go and basically grab him, punching him, dragging him off.
Jim picked him up and took him off again.
So you mentioned carrying on a man down, Dan, and so 18 months ago, the opening night of the Biohazard tour,
Yeah.
Frank was in hospital.
Yeah.
Andy was out with 100 Reasons, so you had a standing bassist who didn't show up for the night. You ended up going on as a 4-piece. But what was happening that day that just to get you onto stage that evening?
I remember Gordon ringing and saying Frank had got syphilis. Frank had got syphilis. No, sepsis. And they thought he had sepsis, so he was in hospital. It was like Frank was like, "I'm going to make the gig. I'm going to make the gig," and Gordon's like, "You're going to have to do it on your own," because I had to do it after the Rock City incident in Glasgow, so I'd already done it, and I was like, "I'm not doing it again on my own," because Speedhorn's very much a double vocal thing, and it's hard to do 2 vocals, and especially Frank's. I think Frank's got an incredible voice, something that ain't what I do, but. Yeah, and I'd done it that one off, and I didn't want to do it again. But Gordon was like, "Look, it's Biohazard. We can't let them down on the first night. They've asked for us to be on this tour." So I was like, "Yeah, let's just do what we can." I was hoping Frank could turn up at the last minute, and then they wouldn't let him out of hospital. And he was gutted, and I was gutted, but you just had to get on with it. And I hated it. I hated the gig. I don't like not having him there. So, but
I thought it was wacky personally.
To interject, basically, when we did the Glasgow show, obviously I wasn't at the Biohazard shows, but for when he did the Glasgow show, Dan always kicks himself about it. But I thought, considering we still put on a banging show, even if it was just him. So
yeah,
you need to give yourself some credit, lad.
Yeah, I just prefer it with him, but you know, there's people there to see you. You can't let them down. It's better to do something 80% in that situation than just not at all and cancel. We're not up for cancelling where we can.
Yeah, and to just to agree with Andy, because we were there that night, and you were panicking beforehand about the show. I remember talking to you before you went on. It was a classic Speedhorn show, and you did pull it out of the bag. It did sound as fantastic as you always did. So,
thank you. For me, it wasn't, but thank you.
So it's the thing for me, basically. Like I always say to people, is like, you know, when sometimes you have a bad on stage sound on a good vibe or anything like that. I think the best way to get your head around that is just like, does it sound good out front? Are the people having a good time? If both answers are yes, then you can just deal with the rest.
Yeah.
Please.
I'm just a professional, so I just crack on.
You always are, Jim. You always are. Just
with me, kid.
Just to touch on Damnation, your festival favourites. Speedhorn, obviously in a slightly different lineup, played the very first Damnation, which was 20 years ago this year. At time of talking, you've not been announced for this year's Damnation. Will we see you there in November?
No. Don't know. No idea. You probably don't want us.
Nah. You're probably like, nah.
No idea. No exclusives to give, unfortunately. I mean, like to, but not heard anything in the grapevine. So
if they asked us and gave us a nice slot, I would be bang up for it. So the people who are great. So
Gav, are you listening? mate,
boy.
We'll make sure Gav hears this. So.
$6,000 in a bag of cans, and I'm in.
Oh, don't forget the Jaeger for Dan.
Oh, the Jaeger for Dan, of course.
Iron brew for God.
Right, lads, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight, and I don't want to keep you too long. So, just want to say thank you for talking to me. The new album Nightwolf is released on Spine Farm on March the 7th, and I can't wait for everyone else to hear it because I've had it on and I absolutely love it.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website www.therazorsedge.rocks.